And joining us now is the co-sponsor of that bill, Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey. Congressman, we'll try to make this a quick segment so you can go vote. But I got to get you first on the tariffs here. Americans are waking up with this 90-day pause on some of the tariffs. We did see that big rebound on Wall Street yesterday, although, as we've been noting, the indices are down today. Is the damage undone? Any of it?
I think things are down because it's just every day is more chaos. Yes, they pulled back on some of the tariffs, but keep in mind there's still a 10% across the board tariff on 90 countries, plus 25% on Canada and Mexico. It's still going to affect nearly everything everybody buys in America, which will mean higher prices for our families, right? This whole thing is an assault on the American people's pocketbooks, on their wallets, right? And from a president who said he was going to get prices down and costs down, it's been just the opposite. And then you add this budget that we're about to vote on with $1.5 trillion in cuts, largely gutting Medicare and Medicaid, right, and food for hungry people, for hungry kids. You realize what this is. This is nothing but like an attack on the American people and really an attack on our seniors. Medicaid, Medicare, policies that administration going after Social Security, and of course now with these higher prices and people's retirement savings going way down, including in the markets today, they're seeing the retirement savings disappear. So, you know, I don't really understand their strategy because every day is a new day of chaos, but they just want to get through it. And you got a lot of members here on the other side who are panicked about what he's doing to the country.
Well, speaking of strategy, that's the message from this White House, that this is all a big strategy. They're taking a victory lap, saying the strategy worked and that pulling back the higher tariffs days after announcing them was all part of the plan. Here's the Treasury Secretary.
This was driven by the president's strategy. He and I had a long talk on Sunday, and this was his strategy all along. We are willing to cooperate with our allies and with our trading partners who did not retaliate. It wasn't a hard message. Don't retaliate. Things will turn out well.
He says it was strategy all along, right? Other administration officials are calling it the art of the deal. What say you?
I mean, I think it's the art of stupidity. I mean, if you look at if their strategy, if this president's strategy is to increase inflation, as the Fed chair has said it will cause, increase prices, as we're already seeing around the country, on food, on clothing, on cars, then I guess that's their strategy, to increase prices on things. If it's to go after as an assault on America's seniors, I guess that's part of their strategy, going after Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. It's why we've made very clear in a bipartisan way with our legislation, the president's going to have to go back to coming here to Congress and actually making the case for each one of these tariffs he wants to impose. If he's trying to use his national security emergency authority we gave him, it's one thing to go after China, our number one adversary. It's a whole other thing to go after our trading partners and go after Mexico and Canada and actually do literally everything possible, it appears, as part of their strategy to raise prices on families, which is what Trump is doing, raising prices on families, hurting the retirement savings, and just utter chaos. And I think when I talk to folks back home, they scratch their head every day and say, I don't understand what they're doing. And I think if their strategy is to just create chaos, I guess then that's their strategy.
Well, NBC talked to a number of Trump voters who say they're willing to stick this out, short-term pain for long-term gain. Let's talk about your legislation you just mentioned. You're working with Republican Don Bacon to check the president's tariffs powers, and we played some sound there at the top of this segment from some Republicans who had been critical of the president's tariffs. Now they're praising his latest move. The stock market has seen a bit of an uptick. What does that mean for your strategy to get your bill across the finish line if you need bipartisan support?
Well, first of all, as Moody's said and J.P. Morgan Chase has said and Goldman has said, we're heading toward a recession if we keep these tariffs on, even at the levels we're talking about. And there's just a 90-day pause, so we don't know what will happen in 90 days, right? So there's great uncertainty and causing great anxiety. And I talked to a lot of Republicans in the last few days who've made it clear that this swinging around back and forth and uncertainty is not acceptable to folks back home. And they're getting a lot of pressure. So I think you're going to see more and more people speak out and say it's enough. The president should come here. We have the constitutional responsibility to look at these tariffs and to review them and to make the case of why it makes sense in each case to impose these tariffs, which will, of course, raise prices on people. And one day, listen, I think we should be doing more manufacturing of certain critical things in the United States. I support that. But there's a lot of stuff, as you know, A, that takes time, and B, in the meantime, you're talking about a huge hit to wallets of folks when they're really struggling now with higher bills, higher food prices, higher clothing prices, higher utility bills. We need to do everything we can, that's what I'm doing in Jersey, to get taxes down, to get prices down, to make life more affordable. And this administration is literally trying every day to do just the opposite, right? And I don't know why you go after Medicare and Medicaid when half of New Jersey seniors and nursing homes rely on Medicaid. So you're creating massive anxiety and chaos for Americans when instead he's supposed to be trying to make this country better. You don't go after veterans and kids who rely on school breakfast and school lunch to get a meal every day.
Congressman, I know you got to get to this vote on this budget package. Republicans are dealing with a lot of conservative holdouts. The speaker says he has the votes today. What are you expecting, and what happens if this fails?
I mean, I can't predict what will happen over there. You know, like they try, and you know, and I assume President Trump is calling each one of them. Like, all I know is if they go ahead with this, what it means for Americans if they keep moving forward with $1.5 trillion that they propose, and what the effects will be on our seniors and our families with Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. I just know what it will do, and hopefully some of them wisen up and look at it and say, this is not what we should do to America's seniors and families. But listen, I'm going to go see what happens just now, like you, and to see if they vote for this. But we're about common sense and not about chaos. And that's what I'm focused on. How do we be reasonable? How do we get things done? We're all willing to sit down and talk to them. They have not shown any interest in talking to us about how to be smart and practical to move forward. And they just keep going with this chaos strategy. And I guess, as you point out, that's their plan.
At last check, no Republicans had voted against this budget resolution yet. Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer, thank you very much for taking the time with us.